ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the A-List. My name is Tom Szydlo. Today, my guest is currently a meteorologist at WFLD-TV, or you may more commonly know it as Fox Chicago. She has been a meteorologist for 17 years, and in her tenure as a meteorologist has won 5 Emmys. Please welcome Tammie Souza. Tammie,
Hi.
Thanks for coming to the show.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure.
All right, now could you tell us a little bit about how you got interested in meteorology?
You know something? It started as a child. I grew up in Southern California. I was born in Pittsburgh, but I grew up in Southern California. And my grandfather was in Northern California, and he had a little airplane, and he had this little airstrip, and he would take us all flying. So I really was addicted to it then, but I didn't get into it until I was in college, into meteorology, because I took a class in meteorology to get my pilot's license, and that's when I knew I really wanted to do it. So I've always liked science, and from that point, just kind of went forward. My sister's a meteorologist, my brother's a pilot, so I think we're all just...
It just runs in the family.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe it's hereditary.
Yes. Now, what exactly brought you here to Chicago?
A great job offer? No, you know what? I like weather. I like interesting weather. So I started my career in Northern California, and they have interesting weather there. It's not all quiet in California. There are parts that get some rough weather. And I started in a tiny town by the name of Chico, and they have the foothills and the Sierras, and then they have the valley heat north of Sacramento, the San Joaquin Valley. So that was really a great starting experience. And then I got a job offer to come to Milwaukee. And I came back in October to look at the place, and it was beautiful weather. I thought, yeah, I'm going to do this. This is going to be a great education.
Sounds amazing.
Then there was a big blizzard about a month after I moved here. But it was
perfect
fun.
Timing, right?
Yeah, it was great. So I spent about 2.5 years in Milwaukee and loved it. Loved the challenge of the weather. Learned so much. And then I had the opportunity to go to several other places, but I got a call to come here to Chicago, originally to NBC, where I worked for 6 years before I went over to Fox. And I have never looked back. I've had other opportunities to leave. I left one time during my time in Chicago for 2 years to go be a chief meteorologist in Tampa, which was a great experience, dealing with the tropics. Weather. It's hot though. I got to tell you, it is really hot for 5 months of the year. A little too hot for me, but that was great. I needed to have that on my resume.
It was nice though when I went there one time for December, just having warm weather.
Yes.
And after being used to snow and blizzards for so long, it's nice to have a change of pace sometimes, I suppose.
Yeah, no, it is. But come May, June, July, August, September, October, it was kind of hot.
Too much.
Yeah. So then I came back, and I'm at Fox Chicago.
Well, now, if you don't mind me talking about when you said you started at NBC, without saying anything too opinionated or anything like that, or I don't know, what would you say would some of the bigger differences between NBC and Fox Chicago in the area?
Well, you know what? First of all, I'll just start off by saying this. All of the local stations in Chicago are actually all very strong. They all reflect the local feeling of Chicago, which is the way it should be. You shouldn't be reflecting necessarily what the national, like Fox News Channel or MSNBC or CBS News or CNN, which is associated with ABC. You should be reflecting the community feelings and values, and that's how it is around the country. So I think all the stations do that fairly well. I just noticed a little bit of a difference when I was at NBC. They were very, very conservative with what you wanted to do on the air, yet, of course, the national platform seems a little bit less conservative. Fox was sort of the opposite. They really wanted you to have fun and be yourself and have some flair and have your own style. But then again, on the national level, they actually seem to be a little bit more conservative. So I think that confuses people at times, but both have been really good places to work, and I actually have learned valuable lessons at both places.
Because it just seems like people's opinions of Fox in general kind of reflect only the national standpoint rather than just Chicago or just wherever you are.
Well, I think if you say Fox, they immediately think of the whole thing. But here's the thing: you go to go into the Deep South, and they're revered there because people really love the Fox, the whole Fox thing. There are large pockets of the Chicago area, especially the outlying counties, DuPage and Lake and Will, that really are huge Fox fans. I think you get into the heart of the city where you've got a very blue collar and a very democratic viewpoint, and maybe they're resistant of the national. But yeah, we have a really good following of Fox viewers in the city of Chicago too. So I think it's probably always something that the local network affiliate is going to have to be aware of.
Yeah. That seems like a difficult challenge, and it seems unfair to point someone's opinions from the national standpoint when the local standpoint seems to be good in its own way, but it seems to actually, as you said, reflect what the city's culture and the city's feelings towards everyone.
Oh, it is, and we take it very seriously, the stories we do. I got to tell you, I do the weather though, so weather is not political.
Yes.
It doesn't lean left or right.
Which is great.
It is just the weather.
Amazing.
You know, that's
no matter where you go, everyone needs to know about the weather.
That's exactly, and I'm going to tell them what the weather is without slanting. Okay, we're having severe thunderstorms. There's really no slant to that. We have severe weather. We're having a blizzard. No slant to that. We're having a gorgeous weekend. No slant to that. So.
Yeah, it's great. You can't blame the weather on some party randomly.
No, you can't, because the weather is bigger than that. So
the NATO summit can create its own kind of bad weather.
Yeah, but we kept thinking they'd get some. No, it did. The city shut down, and we were thinking we'd get some good storms. At one point, we got them Sunday night, but it was pretty much after the summit had ended. There were a little bit of. There was a little bit of protest activity still going on, but I will tell you, I thought the city looked amazing, and I thought that the police conducted themselves very well. All the news outlets did a great job covering it around the clock. I mean, there was a lot of coverage, and so I was very proud of. I was proud of all of my colleagues at all the stations. I was proud of the city, proud of the police, proud of the weather. It was nice.
Yeah. Nothing really majorly bad happened.
No, and I think the protesters, for the vast majority of them, really were very peaceful, and they really got out there and made their point, which was nice.
Yes. Now, would you mind asking me, what would you say would be some of the best parts about working in meteorology?
Oh my God, what isn't great? I love it. I get to come to work every day and solve a puzzle. It has to be solved that day, though. I can't come to work and say, I'm not going to figure out the weather today. I'll tell you tomorrow. But it's fun. I actually ad lib. So I am in charge of myself. Nobody gives me a script. I go to work. I figure out my own forecast, because I am a trained meteorologist with my SEALs and my degrees. I build all my graphics. So when I stand in front of the camera, there's no words. It's all ad lib. I'm pointing at my graphics and I'm explaining the forecast. It's fun. It's on the fly, and it's something that people actually like.
Right. Do you think you could tell us a little bit about what goes into that, in more like how you put together a forecast?
Yeah, usually a day like this is not going to be difficult. I'm going to go to work. I'm going to look at the numerical models. I'm going to actually look at some of the charts to the west, to the north, to the south of us. Generally, our weather will come from those directions. Every now and then, we get a backdoor front comes in from the east or from the northeast. But generally, we're going to be looking at something coming from the west or the north or the south. I'll look at the satellite. I'll look at the radar. I'll kind of figure out what everything is going to be. When I'm done with that, then I'll compare it to what the National Weather Service says. And those are great guys, too, that are out there in Romeoville. I've known them for a very long time. So I will compare it to that, and generally we'll be in sync. What happens is they're focused so heavily on the 48 hours, the next 48 hours, that they kind of give broader brushstrokes to the 7 days, so the 5 to 7 day period. And I'll focus a little bit more intently on that. So sometimes we'll have disagreement there, but I'll usually stick with mine. I always want to make sure there's not vast disagreement with the first 2 days. If there is, I'll go back and check. I don't always change my forecast, but I will go back and check just to be sure. Which
is always probably the most important part of a weather forecast, is knowing what's going to happen the soonest.
Yeah, and you got to live with your forecast. I mean, I've had bust forecasts. We all have. We're not going to be that incredibly different now because it's so state of the art and the technology is so amazing. But when you have a bust forecast, you just got to say, hey, it was a bust, and this is what happened.
Although I'm sure you wish you could change. You wish, like the common theory of the weatherman when you're a kid is that you think that they're the ones who actually choose the weather. I'm sure you would like some of that sometimes.
I do.
I know.
I'm just kidding.
I'm
just kidding. No, I don't choose the weather. I wish I could, but I do lay awake at night if I get the forecast wrong. I feel bad about that. Yeah, you are funny.
Oh, thank you. All right, now, just to quickly ask you, what would you say to someone who is interested in getting into the news business, or maybe not just specifically meteorology, but what would you say to someone as an advice?
It's changing. It has changed so incredibly over the last, say, in 5 years, it has changed vastly. In the last 10 years, it has changed incredibly. It has downsized. The newspaper industry is struggling to hang on, and they have downsized a lot, which took a lot of the media, the radio and television industry with it, because they're so interchanged. Many companies will own newspapers and television stations, like Gannett, who I worked for down in Tampa. USA Today, I mean, they're the largest group that owns television newspapers, and they own television stations too. So television stations, whether it's Fox, NBC, ABC, CBS, or any of the affiliate Scripps, or if you look at Szydlo or Hearst, Argyle or Gannett, they're all downsizing, and they're all getting more automated, and the technology is becoming faster and better, and they're actually able to communicate across platforms with television stations all across the country. So, you know, you have a bigger pool of stories to choose from. You're able to use people in other cities for stories. People being hired in the business today have to be multitaskers. You don't come in just as an anchor or a meteorologist or a producer. You have to be able to write, to edit, to shoot, to tell stories. They call them backpack journalists. You know, a lot of them
I've heard of that term before.
Multimedia journalists. Yeah, the thing is most stations are going in that direction so that they can get more bang for their buck. So I always tell young people that are meteorologists, learn how to do it. Learn how to write so you can write for the web. Learn how to shoot. Learn how to do your own stories on top of telling the weather. Because they sent me down to Harrisburg to cover tornadoes. I've been dropped into the field for a number of things by the network and by the stations I have worked for, because I can hit the ground, I can cover tornadoes and fires and floods and everything like that. You have to be able to learn how to do a lot of things, not just stand in a key and deliver the weather, or not just sit at a desk and read a prompter for the news. You have to be able to get out and hit the ground right. I think a good example was during the NATO summit, you saw Patrick Elwood, who is an amazing anchor, out on the ground with the protesters. Anita Padilla, who's been an anchor at NBC, and now she's a reporter for Fox, but she fills in anchoring sometimes. She's amazing on the ground as an anchor.
Anita Padilla, I might mention to cut you off really quickly, who has been actually a guest here on this show before.
Yeah, Tom.
Yes. Many of these.
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
No, that's okay. So anyway, lots of things that you have to be able to do, and you really have to be able to wear a lot of hats. That makes you more valuable. And as we move forward, newsrooms are going to continue to shrink in size, and you're going to have to be able to do more things. And the internet, and of course your iPhone, your Android, your iPad, those are going to be the news sources of watching so much of the news. So it's ever changing, and that's what I would tell somebody. I would say you just better be ready to change and do it all, because if you think you're coming in to spend 2 years and then you'll be Katie Couric and you're going to write a book and then you're going to retire, it's not going to happen ever. And the salaries are going down, so really be sure it's what you want to do, because you probably make more as a teacher with a master's degree.
Yeah, I suppose that it would be fun, but luckily for you, you happen to be able to do a lot of the stuff, as you said, cover tornadoes in Harrisburg, and of course,
that's because I've told myself I'm going to learn how to do these things. I'm going to make sure that I'm good out in the field with covering stuff live, and I'm going to make sure that I can actually report if they need me to do that. And the weather, I mean, that's the thing I've loved the most. I've gotten all my seals, and you know, I've headed the national board for the AMS, so that's my primary thing. Yeah. But I don't trust that I don't need to do other stuff.
Yeah. Plus, you've also been awarded for your work with 5 different Emmys as well.
That's been a very big honor. And you know what the thing about Emmys is? You never know when you're going to win. Yeah. The year you do something spectacular and you're saying, this is it, then forget it. You don't even get nominated. The year you turn in something and you think, well, this is okay, whatever, I'm not even going to bother going. And then you win. Yeah.
That is exactly what I was thinking when we had our C-Tech, which is our little high school video festival with awards. Every time you think you're going to do something amazing, you don't really see it. It doesn't really happen, but then the one year you just try something out, it just happens to get you something good.
Yeah, no, and it's nice. And they've been for a variety of things, for weathercasting, for special reports. I did a report where I was scuba diving on the wrecks in Lake Michigan, and I got an AP award for that. So it's fun. It's not all just one thing. So it's been an honor that people recognized it, but you got to take it with a grain of salt, because I got a 3-year-old, so that's it. It's all great. He plays with those Emmys, puts them in a cupboard, and I'm dealing with him.
Yeah, to him, well, he doesn't know what it is, I'm assuming.
No, but they're great toys to hang stuff on.
Oh yeah, of course. It sounds like it. That'd be like
a little battle.
If I was a kid, I'd love to have a golden statue to play with as a little kid. There you go. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, that's his thing.
Can we talk a little bit about him a little more?
Sure, yeah, no, he's wonderful. He's 3 years old, and he's very smart. He's very articulate. He keeps my husband and I very busy.
Yeah.
But he's the light of our life. And I think that's sort of a message to anybody, whether you're in the news or whatever. At some point, if you do have a family, if you can spend that time with your family and invest in your family, that shows through into your work. You got to pick what's more important to you, your family or your work. I spent most of my career working my butt off to get to where I am and work very hard, and I'm still giving 150%, but I'm really enjoying the time with my family. So And my son, you know, he's everything to my husband and I, and
Yeah.
so that I enjoy all the time with him, and he's funny. He is a
Yes.
funny little guy.
Sounds like it from what you've told us. Now, I'd love to continue and stay and chat here more, but unfortunately, I'm being told that we're out of time. Thank you so much for joining us today,
Oh, you're
Tammie.
welcome.
It's wonderful to have you on here.
Thank you.
Now, I'd like to also thank all of you for joining us on the A-List. My name is Tom Szydlo, and we hope to see you again soon.